Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Another week of Oh Baby. Today, I am blessed to introduce Thomas's physical therapist, Miss Charlene. She has been a godsend in our lives. Thomas loves her. She loves Thomas. It's really just absolutely amazing.
That makes me feel
Welcome,
so good.
Miss Charlene. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. I'm excited to be here. I'm
Yay.
so excited you are doing
Yes.
this.
So Miss Charlene and I had talked about doing because we have a toy store in our living room and
Pretty
we have a
much.
bunch of toys.
Pretty
And she
much.
said, let's do like reviews. And I said, well, let's take it one step further because my plate isn't full enough.
Right?
And so now we're doing a podcast.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about you. What's your family like?
Okay. So currently, I obviously work as a pediatric physical therapist. I have been doing this for 24 years, showing my age a little bit with that. So that's currently what I'm doing now. I also, in my spare time, I also coach figure skating here in North Charleston at the Carolina Ice Palace, and
Are they kids too?
I work with skaters of all ages.
Okay.
Not so much the real like beginners anymore. Like I tend to take on some of our coaches who have the higher level competitors. They tend to bring me in just to kind of fine tune some things, and I work a little bit off ice with them as well. And some adults. We have a huge population of adult skaters in town, so I work a lot with the adults. So I do that, and then I also teach a class for the College of Charleston for their activities program, and I'm a mom. So that's everything. That's
Your
me.
plate is full.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
old are your children? Oh,
Just one.
okay.
Just one. Yep. I was a one and done kind of girl as she's 20, which is so crazy to me. You know, people tell you when you have babies how fast the time will go by and
Yeah.
you think that's not possible,
Yeah.
but you're
It
going to
does.
blink
You blink.
and it just goes by so quickly.
That, yeah. So you were then a physical therapist before you had your daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Let's see. I had been, I mean, just a couple years out of school, but I kind of went a little bit later to school. I wasn't your typical go to high school, go to college, do all that. It took me a while to figure it out. I was a competitive figure skater, which interestingly enough, because of that, I always thought when I eventually became a PT that, or once I was in PT school, that I would work with athletes because that was
Mm,
always my experience with PT because I
right.
always had chronic injuries. And so I was always going to PT. And that's what I thought I would do. And then I got to PT school and I did a rotation in pediatrics and I loved everything about it.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
my trajectory completely changed.
What makes you love working with children? Is it because they don't really have so much of a backstory?
I think so. And I think, well, for me, this might sound a little bit harsh, but
Okay.
you know, for and not at this is just generally, this is my opinion. With adults, for the most part, I mean, unless it's a particular disorder, I'm just talking generally. You know, we have done things over the years that have resulted in us
Mhm.
having low back pain and oh, now I have to have a knee
Right.
replacement and a hip replacement. Whereas a child, I mean, they have done nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is what they've been given and this is what they are dealing with. And I love that in pediatrics, I have one patient and I can focus for that hour. Whereas in adult therapy, you tend to have, one, two, three clients, four clients,
Oh, at
all
a
kind of
time.
rotating all at the same time. When I first graduated, because there were not any peds jobs open at that time, I worked for a very short stint in adult orthopedics and I just got really tired of it. It was, lots of hips, lots of knees, shoulder, low back pain, and it was
Mhm.
very repetitive. And
Yeah, I feel like there would be no gratification really.
yeah, it just kind of, you start to go on autopilot.
Mm.
And, but with kids, I
Yeah,
mean, Thomas,
there's magic in
you
their eyes.
never know what you're
Yeah.
going to get either. Could be a good day, could be a great day, could be a not so great day.
Mhm.
But you have to be able like to like change and pivot your plan so
Mhm.
quickly. And that's, every day is different.
You're really good at pivoting. All of our sessions with Thomas, it's, "Oh, well, I didn't think we were gonna do this today, but here
Just
we let's go."
yeah, yep, yep. I just kind of go with it. I go with
Yep.
it and I figure out how to make whatever he's wanting to do like
Mhm.
therapeutic and go with it.
Yep. What is something you think most people misunderstand about pediatric physical therapy?
I think a lot of people think it's just playing.
Mhm.
And I think it can, to someone looking from the outside, it can look like that.
Yeah.
And we do use play because that's what we have to do to in order to engage the child.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think outside looking in, it can just be a little bit like, what
It
are they really
perceives that
doing?
way.
Yeah. Or sometimes if you're working on a really hard skill,
Mhm.
I know like your mom is like, they're torturing him. No, we're not. It's okay. He's just, this is a hard skill,
Yep. Yep.
right? It's no different than going to the
Yeah.
gym and your trainer is asking you to do 10 more squats and
Yeah.
you do not want to do 10 more
Yep.
squats.
Yep. That is
So,
true. That is very
yeah.
true. So let's talk about a little we'll title this Development 101.
Okay.
What are some major gross motor milestones parents should know for a typically developing child?
Okay. So, and I think with milestones too, you have to remember that it's a range, right? So it's not, you know, at this particular time, they must be doing this.
Right.
There's a range that's considered within normal
Mm.
limits. And that's a whole other social media thing that we can get into later.
Yeah.
But, typically first couple months, when they're on their tummy, being able to lift their head a little bit from the
Mhm.
floor when they're on their tummy. 6 months is like the big age for starting to do independent sitting, rolling over both ways.
Yeah.
Usually I have to look at my little cheat
Mhm.
sheet here, about, 8, 9, 10 months, they're doing some form of independent mobility, right? Whether it's actually crawling on hands and knees, whether it's army crawling, whether it's scooting on their bottom, there's some kind of independent mobility
Mhm.
happening. And then, of course, 12 to 15 months is the big one with independent walking.
Right.
And then from there, the bigger skills by 2 years old, it's being able to jump, it's walking up and down stairs. By 3 years old, a big one is being able to ride a tricycle. So those are kind of like the big
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of moms, they panic when they're not meeting, like, certain dates because, like you said, social media, I'm on a ton of mom groups, and my biggest thing that I see on them is moms being like, "Well, my my little turned 1 yesterday, and he didn't meet the standard yet,
Yeah.
and, something's wrong." And I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, if they only knew."
I know, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like social media, like it kind of gets portrayed as just a checklist.
Mhm,
This age this and this and this, and it's just it truly is a range.
mhm,
You can get, a little one who starts walking independently at 9 months old and a little one that starts walking at 15 months old, but they're still within normal range
mhm,
and they're still doing the skill, they're still progressing.
right,
There's nothing wrong.
yeah,
Just every child, whether they're typically developing or not, is on their own timeline.
right,
Even two kids with the same diagnosis can be on completely
very
different
different.
timelines.
Yeah, and I think that's fair,
Yeah.
kids sometimes they just don't want to yet,
Yeah.
because it's like,
Yeah.
once I walk, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to do this forever. Nobody's gonna pick me up and carry
Well,
me.
and like we've talked about, it takes the right motivator too.
Yep.
Like with Thomas, it's got to be the right thing
Yes.
for him to go, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'll roll over. I'll
Okay.
get it.
Yeah. Once.
Yes. Yes.
One time is all you get. So we talked about the range of it. When do you think is an appropriate time for a parent to say, you're still not meeting this milestone? When should they, like, kinda seek help?
So I think some red flags to look for would be, just taking a step back and looking at their progression,
Mhm.
right? So, are they still progressing or have they progressed and met a few milestones and now they're just kind of stopped?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that could be an issue.
Like, stuck, you mean?
Yeah. They
Okay.
get kind of stuck and there's no more progression, or they've met a milestone, but now they're not doing that milestone. And I'm saying like
Okay.
do it once and then not, but they've been doing it consistently.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that
No more.
milestone stops.
Okay.
Right.
What do you think the cause of that would be to regress like that?
What would be the cause of that regression? I mean, there could be something neurological going on where there's something with that connection between brain and body
Yeah.
that's not like just something to do with that connection,
Yeah.
no matter what that might be. That would be worth further
Mhm.
investigation. a lot of times they may have like an underlying condition, maybe that's never been picked up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they hit a certain point and it's like it kind of catches up with them.
Okay.
And so now it's like, okay, let's
Yeah.
see what's going on
Call
here.
the
Yeah.
pediatrician
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
The other thing is too, not even talking about babies and milestones, on social media, nobody or very few people post the bad stuff, right?
Yes.
It's always the amazing things.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if your child is walking at 9 months, of course you want to post it.
Right.
And you go on. And so then now, but then everybody's like,
Yeah. My
oh,
baby's
my
11
baby's not,
months.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I need to do something.
Yeah.
No, you don't. They're
Mhm.
still in the range.
Yep.
So I think that's the big thing. And that's for everybody with social media. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so hard not to compare when everybody is posting how wonderful
Right.
everything is.
Yep. Yep.
When,
Comparison is a thief of joy.
yeah, yeah, I love that. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, and another thing too about that is just because, say, a child is, say, I don't know, sitting at 4 months old, that doesn't mean that they're going to do other things
Early.
early.
Mhm.
So it's very, again, it's just when you see social media, you see that one snapshot
Yep.
and you don't see the whole big picture.
Yeah, that took me a lot and a long time to kinda come to a feeling of, "Okay, Thomas will get there.
Yeah.
He's just gonna take a little bit
Yeah.
longer."
Exactly.
But I compared myself to a lot of other moms, and it's
Oh,
like, "Well,
yeah.
my baby's not doing this. Oh my gosh, like, I
I
know he has
know.
the trach, but come on." And
Yeah. I
I
know.
feel like I pushed him really hard, and
Yeah.
now I'm kind of at a place where I'm like, "You know what, Thomas? You do you.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
keep working on it,
Yes.
and it is what it is.
Yes.
Why stress everybody
And
out?"
look how far he's come.
Yeah.
I
So oh my
mean,
gosh, amazing. From when we first
yeah.
started together?
Yeah. But he's a worker.
Yeah, he
He
is.
wants to do it.
Yes. You could see it in his eyes,
Yep.
and it's so funny because he'll look at you, he'll look at what you want him to do. He's
Yeah.
like, "Are you sure
Yeah.
you want me to do this?" And he's
Yes.
like, "Okay, let's go."
Yes, he does.
We push him
Uh,
pretty hard,
yeah.
and
Yeah. And
he's
he, like I
very
said,
tolerant.
he's a trooper, but
Mhm.
he also has that, you can see he has the
Yeah.
motivation to do it. Like he's
Mhm.
trying to figure it
And but you make our sessions so fun. I mean, even I enjoy them.
out.
Yeah, but he loves you,
Uh,
and I think that's so important.
it is. It
Mm.
is. There's just, I think that's important when families are starting with therapists. And, you know, I think you have to find the one that clicks with your
Mhm.
child and with you. There's a lot of us out there, although sometimes I know it feels like there's a shortage.
Yeah.
And I know like it took us a while to get another
Yep.
OT for you, but, it's finding the one that fits because, you're going to be seeing a lot of each other.
Mhm.
And, I mean, like there are some hard sessions,
Yeah.
right? And the kids get upset, but I always like to start the sessions with a little hug and a hello, and then we start, and if we need breaks, we take our hug breaks, and then we end with that,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
so that, he knows it's
It's a
okay.
sense of, like, safety almost,
Yeah.
security,
Yeah.
like, "Okay, this
Yeah.
person's not here to hurt me. This
Yeah.
person is my
Yes.
friend. Let's
Yes.
play."
Yes.
Very
Exactly.
play-based,
Yeah.
like we said
Yep.
earlier. So are you considered an early interventionist or just a physical therapist?
So it would be an early intervention physical therapist,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So with so each state has their own early intervention program, which is for specifically for birth to 3 years old.
Okay.
Every state it's called something different. Here in South Carolina, it's called BabyNet. So kids are referred to the program and they're assigned an early interventionist who is someone and usually they typically have a bachelor's degree. I don't want to misspeak, but I think it's bachelor's degree they have. And so they kind of almost act like kind of like the gatekeeper,
Okay.
right? So they're like, okay, we have this child, they're showing delays. Okay, we need to get a PT eval, OT speech, what have you,
Mhm.
and they kind of help direct all the
Yeah.
things. So then they reach out to the different companies who have therapists, and then we are brought on, and then we
Okay.
do our own evaluation. And like for me, at this point in time, I only do early intervention. Early intervention also is typically always in the natural environment. So whether
Mhm.
that child's in a daycare, at home, at a babysitter's house, like
Yeah.
we see the child within that. that environment,
Yeah.
those environments.
Do you think that is more beneficial than seeing them in a clinic setting?
So I've done both. A number of years ago, I also had a private practice in town. I had a business partner, and we had a practice here that did pediatric PTOT and speech. And we had that for about 13 years. Sold it just before COVID. I kind of thank my lucky stars. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't know COVID was a thing. I think we
Right.
sold it was 2017. We were just ready to move on and do other things at
Yeah.
that time. And so I've done both. I've done clinic therapy, I've done early intervention, and I really feel that for the birth to 3 population, I do think that home based is very beneficial because a lot of times in the clinic, you walk in, you're in the waiting room, the therapist out, comes to get your child, you go back to the treatment area. And sometimes the parents will come back, sometimes not. But I feel like, the clinics are great because they have so many things,
Mhm.
right? They have all the big balls and the bolsters and all the things you could want. But most families don't have that.
Yeah.
So when
You mean not every living room looks like ours?
No, no, actually, you are an exception. Yes. I expect to come in with the swings hanging from the ceiling next, actually, the sensory swings. That'll be next. I won't say that to your mom because she
She'll
might
get
just do
it.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But, a lot of families, they don't have that. And a lot of families really don't even have a lot of toys and things. So, being in the home, you have to figure out how to work with what they have so they can carry over what we're working on
Okay.
because therapy just isn't the 1 hour or the 2 hours that I come,
Yeah.
right? It's a daily thing,
Yep.
right? And you find ways to work it in. It doesn't have to even be the 5 exercises I've given you. You
Yeah.
can, it's every diaper change,
Yep.
right? You're bringing their feet up, you're
Mhm.
talking with them. It's just on the floor playing, getting them to roll over to you, just getting them to sit
Yeah.
and while they're eating and maybe reach up for their spoon. Like there's
Yep.
so like it all of those things add up.
Mhm.
And so seeing and not every home environment's different.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to work with what they have so
Mhm.
that the parents do feel confident in carrying over what you're doing. And it's a
Yeah.
little bit more difficult when you're in a clinic and you have access to all of
All these
these
things.
therapy tools and now the parents go home and they're not quite sure what to do
Mhm.
because they don't have that. And I never recommend for people to buy things, right?
Yeah.
I figure out, I mean, lots of people will ask me, and I will definitely, give my opinions on what I think would be good. But, I never say, okay, you need to buy this.
Right.
We figure out what they have and how to use it.
Work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when before we got our speech therapist, we went into a clinic,
Yeah.
and I just remember it feeling, like, so sterile.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
this will be the first and
Yeah.
last time we come here
Yes.
because I will just
Yeah.
wait now until somebody can come to
Yeah.
the house.
Now, I will say after the age of 3, I've had a few over the years that I've kept after 3 years old because it was still appropriate for them to be in the home. They were had quite significant limitations, and we were still working on them navigating their home environment and getting in and out of the car, those types of things. But I would say majority of the time, once they hit 3, if they're still needing therapy, then they really do need the big gyms
Yeah.
with the like, there's only so many things I
Mhm.
can bring in my car.
Right.
So for it to be beneficial.
Yep.
So usually at that point, if they're still needing therapy, then I usually recommend, okay, it's time to transition into
Mhm.
clinic, where they just have just more
Yeah,
things for
a
them
jungle
to,
gym.
yes,
Yeah,
all of that.
that would make
Yeah.
sense. When getting therapy, any kind of therapy, speech, OT means something is wrong, automatically wrong, detrimentally wrong.
Yeah. No, no, not necessarily. I mean, I've had over the years, everything from, kiddos who are just a little bit delayed. There's no medical diagnosis. There's no, they're just a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
They may be 17, 18 months and not walking yet. So, a lot of times, I will say actually, a lot of times when I get kids like that, I go into the home and I see this so often. I see that they are the youngest
Mm.
of a family of 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
and they're the baby, and they don't really have to walk because everyone is carrying them everywhere. So
Mhm.
they've never had incentive and
Yeah.
motivation to get up and
Yep.
walk and get things. So a lot of times there's a bit of family training that goes along
Mhm.
there and education and
Yeah.
and it's
And while we're on that, the incentive to walk,
yeah.
let's talk about, the container.
Oh,
Let's talk about the
containers.
container.
Yes.
What is a container?
I actually did a little blog about this a couple years ago.
Oh.
There's actually in the therapy community, there is actually a term that's been coined of container baby syndrome. And I will say, all the big box companies, Amazon and Walmart and Target, they do a fabulous job like marketing all these containers that,
Convincing me that I
yes,
need
that
these
that
things.
you need it, that it will help your baby sit, it will help your baby stand, it will help
Mhm.
your baby walk. But they no, no, they don't. And so when we're looking at containers, we're actually talking about everything you put your baby in. So
Mhm.
that includes strollers, car seats, the little floor seats, the little bouncy seats, the little play walker
Yep.
things that you set them in. It's everything. So now some of those are obviously necessary. You have to have your car seats. You've got to have, the strollers.
Mhm.
You have to have those. But if you're doing those every day, plus placing them in all these other things, they're not getting any free movement. And so the way we learn is through movement. So if you're not moving, your brain's not learning what it needs your body to
Right.
do. So as a mom, though, I always say that I understand needing to put your baby someplace safe
Mhm.
while you go take a shower and you make dinner
Yes.
and all that. So if you need to use a little seat for that, absolutely. But to be placed in like, the best thing, and I know we've talked about this, is
Mhm.
just have a space on the floor,
Mhm.
put a bunch of toys out, and let them figure out
Yes.
how to move to get to what they want. Because as they're moving, they're also getting stronger.
Mm.
They're learning how to weight shift,
Yeah.
right? Which we need for walking, because walking is just stand, shift your weight, move your foot, shift your weight, they've got to learn
Mhm.
that. And if they're on the floor doing that, they're learning that.
Yeah.
That's really the best thing, and
Yep.
then if you can make it, a nice little contained area, if they're really moving,
Mhm.
you can just get those little, the little gates or
Yeah.
use furniture to block
Yeah.
or
And I was gonna say for the moms listening or watching, do you think like a playpen would fall under that? Like a decent sized playpen to just kind of put them in so they're not
yeah. I mean, I
going
think I've
out
had
the
families
door.
use playpens, absolutely,
Okay.
but if you don't wanna spend the money on a playpen, you can just use furniture to even block off a section of
Yep.
floor,
Yep.
right? You can use like dog gates, right? Or
Yep.
baby gates,
Mhm.
right? That you can, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of extra money, but
Right.
yeah, a good size because you want the playpen to be big enough that they can still move
Right.
around and they're not limited to just staying in one little space.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We're all about
Yeah.
saving money
Yeah. But they have going back to that whole container baby syndrome, there started a few years ago started to see this trend of babies being delayed, not wanting to be on their tummy.
because of the containers.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because they're constantly in this seated position
Yeah.
and a lot of times they're not even in a really good seated position. They're usually kind of in this posterior tilt
Mm.
and they're more slouched and then if it's a fabric seat and they don't have trunk control, they're kind of leaning to the side
Mhm.
and it's not going to teach them how to control those muscles because they don't have it to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we started to see a bunch of delays in development and reaching those milestones. So, yeah, that was a couple years ago. That was we were starting to be more of a thing. So, really
Mhm.
trying to educate, and even daycares. I've gone to a couple daycares. They had two teachers and 10 little ones, and they had them all sitting. And I just,
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah,
Well, how do you feel about so the car seat is a
yeah,
container. What if, say, Thomas fell asleep in the
mhm,
car seat
mhm,
and, he's not a good transfer?
yeah.
Will it hurt him, hinder him to let him sleep in the car seat?
No, I mean, if it's all the time, maybe
Mhm.
not. I mean, I know a lot of kids who have really bad reflux, right?
Yeah.
Right? They have to be upright,
Mhm.
right? But I think the main thing is that, again, if you're using the car seat and the strollers and those things, then which we need to use, then limit all the other stuff,
Okay.
right? Because
Yeah.
they're getting like all their contained time in those. So then when you're home, don't contain them more,
Yes.
right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because who wants to I wouldn't wanna
Yeah.
be. You
Yeah.
put me one
Yeah.
thing to another,
Yeah.
that sounds
Yeah.
terrible.
Exactly.
And I mean, things like that, I always put myself in Thomas's
Yeah.
shoes. I'm like, "I hate this."
Yes.
I It's stressing
Yeah.
me out
Yeah.
watching.
And you see him now, like,
Yeah.
he'll come in like, he'll want you to, like, pick him
Mhm.
up, and he's good for a couple snuggles, and then he's like, "Hey, now I wanna move."
Yes.
Like, he wants to
Yep.
move.
Yep. He will try and dive out of your arms if he wants
Yes.
down. Why do you think early intervention is so important?
Oh, there's that birth to 3, that is such an important time for brain development. And the earlier we can identify any issues, the earlier we can address it. And we're really like capitalizing on that brain, that neuroplasticity where their brains are literally, it's like a sponge.
Yeah.
And again, we've seen it with Thomas. He is a sponge and he picks things up. And not to say that as you get older, you can't learn, but that birth to 3 is such a critical time and so important that if we can get in there and like I remember when we first started, I said, this is going to seem like a lot. You're going to
Mhm.
have me twice a week. You're going to have OT. There's going to be speech, but this is the time to do it.
Yep.
So that as he gets older, then you don't need it as
Mhm.
much. Hopefully, if at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know some days I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna cancel everything today."
Yeah,
But because sometimes you just need a break. It is a lot. It's
it
overwhelming.
is. It is.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever's best for him,
Yep.
we're gonna do
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Some days we just need that
Yeah.
mental health day, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Even for him, I think
Yeah.
just to be able to lay on the floor and not have an agenda
Yep. Yep.
is so important.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is.
So if a little's not walking, you think by 18 months and a parent's not getting early intervention, they're just kind of like, "Oh, whatever." How can that down the line affect them? So say if that child didn't start moving
Yeah.
until 2, 2.5,
Yeah.
what would that is that going to create any long-term damage to their muscles?
I wouldn't say damage, but then it just becomes a constant catch up game,
Okay.
right? So they're delayed walking, but then from walking, we hit all those other skills, right?
Yeah.
So from walking, we go to running, we go to kicking, we go to walking up and down stairs, jumping, riding a bike. So it's like constantly trying to catch
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say damage, but it's, I always go into it with, say, a child who is just developmentally delayed, not medically complex,
Mhm.
and thinking, like, with thought process, okay, how can I get this child caught up as quickly as I can?
Yeah.
Right. So that they're not lagging behind their peers.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause at that time, I mean, you're starting
Yeah.
pre-K and
Yeah.
all those things.
Yep.
You want your
Yep.
child to be social.
Yeah.
We don't want another
Exactly.
COVID episode with
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
kids.
Right. Exactly.
Let's talk
Right.
a little bit therapy at home. So I know we only get you twice a week,
Yep.
so I
Only.
watch you like watch you like a hawk
Ah,
during sessions,
yeah.
and I try to absorb that so then
Yep.
I can
Yep.
continue working with
Yep.
Thomas. What are some household items that, almost every home has that can
Yeah.
help help their kids
Yeah.
do
Sure.
a therapy
Yeah.
session?
Yeah. And again, this is a dream coming here because it's like, you guys have your own little therapy gym here
Yeah.
almost. You got lots of stuff to work with. But I think just household items, one thing that I love to use actually is just like painter's tape. If you take painter's tape and just, you just kind of roll it up so it makes a loop, stick it on the window, say for a child who's like standing learning balance, you can have them stand at the window, like, "Here, you've got these lovely windows here," and just have them pull the tape off or stick the tape on a circle. Or, I mean, rather than
Yeah.
buying, the suction cup toys that you
Yep.
can put you don't wanna buy those, just use painter's tape,
Yeah.
right? And
So much cheaper.
yeah, and kids love painter's tape. I don't know what they love painter's tape.
Yeah.
Painter's tape, honestly, pots and pans, I mean,
Mhm.
you can't go wrong with pots and pans. Kids love
Mm-mm.
to make noise. Keep moving. Using actually, I just saw your mom, a laundry basket. You can do a lot of things with a laundry basket,
Really?
right? Turn it upside down, you can kneel at it, right? For little ones working on sitting, we never did this with Thomas, but sometimes when I've had ones who've really struggled, I put them in a laundry basket so that if they fall over, they're not gonna fall all the way
Yeah.
over, and then they can hopefully maybe help, like, start to push
Yep.
themselves up. They can play there. If they're sitting, like, widthwise, you can kinda get them in a little sit with
Mhm.
a toy in front, and they're not gonna fall all the way forward.
Yeah.
So, laundry baskets you can use.
I would have
Um
never thought of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I've
brilliant.
I've had to get creative over the years with some things. Oh, keys. Every child loves a good set of keys.
Mhm.
And I feel like everybody's got a drawer full of old keys that you
Ye
don't know what they belong to. Put them on a key ring.
Yep,
Just dangle them.
yep, clean them.
Yeah, clean them first. Yes, yes. You can do that. You can use like any little step stools you have.
Mhm.
You can use step stools for stepping up, for sitting, lots of things. Lots of things.
And then the
Yeah.
furniture for the playpens
Yeah.
to
Yep.
enclose them.
Yep. Couch cushions. I love to use couch cushions. If you have the cushions that you can remove from your couch that aren't attached, those are great for working on kneeling at the couch cushion.
Mhm,
Usually they're a good height for sitting on the edge so they
mhm.
can get that little sitting position,
Yep,
like we worked on with your feet
yep.
flat and your back up. Usually cushions are the exact right size. Those are great. Or for older kids, walking on them, making a little path like an obstacle
Mm,
course with them.
because of the
Yep,
balance?
yep, yep, yep.
Oh,
That's really good.
wow.
See, you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Wow, you should tell
Yeah,
my mom this.
I will.
Hey, Mom.
Mm. I'd be taking away her fun.
Yeah, you
I
would.
think she has more fun looking for
Mhm.
stuff than
What kinda games can parents play with their children that build strength without kind of making the child feel like they're working?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing for tummy time that I always tell my parents is that, tummy time does not have to be just put your child on the floor, let them cry it out and get used to tummy time. I mean, tummy time is so many things and so many things count. I think the best thing that most babies enjoy is when you just lie chest to chest,
Mhm,
right? And you can make it easier, by sitting more upright
mhm.
or harder if you're completely
Flat.
horizontal and they've really got to lift that head,
Yeah.
right? So when they're doing that, they're working on their neck extensors, their back extensors, their shoulders, their stabilizers there, and their shoulder blades. That's really good with. Well, actually, we tried this a little bit with Thomas doing the little sit to stand,
Yes.
right? So having him sitting again in that position, it's got to be the right height stool or chair he's sitting on with his feet flat, putting something above and seeing if he'll, push through his
Yeah.
legs to stand up to
Yep.
get to it, and then sitting down. And
Mhm,
that up and down to get a toy, they don't realize they're working their little legs
mhm.
because they're just interested in getting that toy,
Yes.
like squatting activities.
Mhm.
So as he gets older and he's working on standing, we can work on,
Like Duck, Duck,
yeah,
Goose?
yep, yep, totally doing
Mhm.
stuff like that,
I gotta get in shape.
right? Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things. Animal walks. Animal walks is great. There's a couple great little videos out that I found just on YouTube, right? So, walking like a bear, walking like a
Ah,
crab. So again, these are a little bit older for older
okay,
kids. Walking like a duck,
okay.
right? And they don't realize how hard their muscles are working, but they're just
Yeah,
having fun. They're pretending to be animals.
yes.
Standing like a flamingo on one foot.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one. Um,
Oh, that's cute.
for something more, okay, so more Thomas's age, the sitting and the reaching for things,
Mhm,
right? Like we have him do that little bench sitting, and we've started trying to get him to
mhm.
reach down, but then come up
Yep.
with his toy, right? And then maybe putting the ball in the basket, what have
Mhm.
you. But yeah, or even just sitting on the floor and just having to reach to one side, having to reach to the other.
Yep.
They're still working their core,
Yeah.
but for them, they're just trying to reach to get the toy that you put
Mhm,
out there for them.
mhm. And you don't even realize, like, we had OT the other day, and she wanted to do, like, side lying
Yeah.
play where he's, like, reaching, and
Yeah.
she said, "Well, lay on your side and
Yeah.
reach up
Yeah.
and see if you could feel it
Yeah.
here." And I said, "By God, I do." My
Right.
gosh. Here I am
Right.
trying to, like, make a jungle gym to get him. I said, "I just need to lay down on the floor
Yeah.
with you and go like
Right.
this."
Right. Yes. Yeah, totally.
And those are the things that you don't realize, and I think, this
Yeah.
conversation is so important
Yeah.
because, I mean, when we first started before Thomas, I
Yeah.
had no idea what I was getting myself
Yeah.
into. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sweat, he's gonna sweat, babies don't even sweat." I was freaking out, and now I'm
Right.
like, "We're just playing,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
play-based work,"
Yes.
which
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
What are some simple activities families can do every day with their littles?
Well, I guess it depends. So I think like initially, Thomas is doing this all the time now. We wanted him to hold his feet while he was on his back. Now he shows me that every day. It's like having those little moments. Like I always say, like diaper changes are a good time to do it, right? You're changing the diaper, bring their feet up, play with their feet, talk
Mhm.
to them, get them to reach for you. It's a lot of interaction,
Mhm.
right? What I love that Thomas does now too is that when he wants you to pick him up because he will reach for you.
Yeah.
And every time he does that, I pick him up because I can't
That's
resist.
a
And
good
I'm
reach.
not going to turn him down when he does that because it is such a good reach.
Mhm.
A lot of that. It's just, and again, I get it. Having been, my daughter's 20 now, of course, but when she was little, and just being so tired from work and
Mm.
just life and things. And she wasn't a special needs baby, so it's even more so, I
Mhm.
know, for you. But coming home and just lying on the floor, just letting her climb on me.
Yeah.
Just let her climb. And now she's happy. He's happy because
Yep.
they've got you right there and they're trying to get to you and
As
they're
long as
climbing. And
I'm visual to Thomas, he doesn't care.
oh,
So as long as I'm in sight, he's like, "Okay, I'll do my thing.
yeah,
Just
right.
don't move."
That's true. That's true. That's true. That is funny about him.
So we talked a lot about a typical developing
Yeah.
child. Let's talk a little bit about medically complex
Yeah.
kids like Thomas.
Yes.
How is therapy different for medically complex children than just a delay?
So, okay. So, first, talking about medically complex for some of your viewers who might not quite get what that is. So, in the simplest terms, we're talking about those kids whose typical health needs can't be met by just regular routine medical visits.
Okay.
So, typically, they have multiple disease processes going on, or they have a significant disease process going on or disorder. Many times they are dependent on equipment. So, whether that is a G tube, a trach, possibly supplemental oxygen, they may have a cardiac condition, a genetic condition, a neurological condition, a history of frequent hospitalizations. Basically, these are the kiddos who need constant, consistent
Mhm.
medical care, right? From PTs, OTs, speech, there's medical specialists, their primary doctor, like they have basically a whole little village
Yeah.
that's watching
Yep.
out for them,
Yep.
right? So they typically have unique developmental needs because their condition dictates how they move, how they play, how they learn, how they interact with their environment. So the biggest difference is that, say, with a child who is just delayed, they had a set of twins and they were born just a little bit early. One twin right on track, the other twin just delayed. No reason.
Mhm.
She wasn't significantly premature. She was a little,
Yeah.
little bit behind her sister. So I just worked with her. So rather than working on just walking and maybe just reaching whatever that milestone is that the family wants. What we're trying to do with the kiddos who are medically complex is get them to function as independently as possible and as well as possible in their environment
Mhm.
within the parameters of that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Does
And I
that
would assume safety would come into
yes,
play too,
yes,
because I
yes.
mean, like
Yeah.
when Thomas first came home, he was on the vent. I don't
Yeah.
know if we've ever worked with the
No.
vent. No,
Mm-mm.
I think
Mm-mm.
we did because we were still on our
Yeah.
our sprinting, so we
Yeah.
would sprint during our thing. But I'm like, how is this ever going to work?
Yeah.
How is he going to do it? But a lot of kids with
Yeah.
trachs, they
Yeah.
are on a vent up when they're walking and
Yeah.
everything. It's amazing
Yeah.
that you just kind of learn and adapt and
Yeah.
overcome.
Yeah. And really, like, say for Thomas, this is all he knows.
Mhm.
So he doesn't know anything different,
Yeah.
right? But it just takes, I would say, I mean, all kids you need to be have a lot of flexibility with, but more so with the medically
Mhm.
complex, right? Their day to day tends to be a little bit more up and down than, say, a child who's not medically complex.
Yeah.
So the sessions, you have to consider, what is their, respiratory rate like? What is their endurance like today? You know, just how are they feeling in general,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, like I said, a lot of times I come in with a plan because I'm thinking, it's the end of the week. I don't know if he's going to be up for it. And
Yeah.
he'll blow me away on those days.
Yep.
So then other days I'm like really wanting to go and he's not there. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, we're going to take a step back. We'll
Yep.
do something else.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of factors in
Yeah.
that tiny little body that
And
need to
you
be
are so
considered.
good at picking up especially Thomas's cues because Thomas, he can't cry, he
Yeah.
doesn't communicate.
Yep.
He just he talks with his
Yes.
face or his body language,
Yes.
and you're so good at
Yes.
saying, "I don't think we're doing this today."
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
kind of take a step back,
Yep.
and I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a skill that a
Yeah.
lot of moms with kiddos with complications would look
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. And that takes a while. It's
Mhm.
it's not
I feel like
something.
they don't teach you that in school.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like you've got to be able to pick up
Mhm.
on that. And it takes a little bit of time and experience to
Yeah.
really be able to do that well.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I would agree. So, if you're working with a child who's medically
yeah.
complex and they were to go into the hospital for a long
Yeah.
extended time, would you go to the hospital to work with them? Would you kind of wait until they came home? What would that look like?
So in that case, that's where different places are very different in their protocol with therapies.
Yes.
So in the hospital, then if he was in the hospital, there would be hospital based
Okay.
OTPT or speech. That would be there. That would be called in to work with him. And that is kind of like their realm.
Okay.
And then once he was discharged home, then once, if the doctor cleared him for home based therapy, then
Mhm.
I would come right back in and
Okay.
start again. But we don't typically like cross over into different
Yeah,
environments.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, would you kind of save their spot in hopes that they would come home soon?
So technically, and every company is different with their
Mhm.
policy with cancellations and how that works. So technically, if someone is gone for, I don't even know what it is, like 2 weeks and misses consecutive weeks, you can then, give up a spot, blah, blah, blah. But it really is kind of a case by case and
Yeah.
why those visits were missed,
Right.
right? If he's hospitalized, and of course it's Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold that. So, but what I have done in the past is when I've had things like that happen, is that I've used those spots. If I know that the child is coming back, and it's not just like, oh, it could be 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I know that this child is coming back, I have those spots. I'll use those spots as, like, my cancellation
Okay.
makeup session
Yeah.
spots because I don't really have any extra spots just hanging out there for those reasons.
Yeah.
So if, a child needs to make up a visit, I would just, use that
Mhm.
until that child was able to come back
Yeah,
into therapy.
that's great. And I feel like at that point you've created this
Yeah.
relationship with the child and their
Yeah.
family, and it's
Yeah.
like, I give this up. Like, I
Absolutely.
care about this
Yeah,
child
yeah,
now.
absolutely, yeah. But again, it just depends on the reason for what,
Mhm.
but it's something like a hospitalization, then yeah, I work around it.
And what piece of advice would you give a parent of the medically complex just starting his therapies or their
Yeah.
therapies?
I would kinda like what I had said to you was like, this is gonna be a lot to begin with.
Mhm.
There are gonna be some days where it's very overwhelming,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay because it is a lot, but that's also partly why you need to have a therapist
Yes.
that you connect with,
Yes.
right? That you can learn to trust with your baby.
Yes.
And so, I would just say for us to get as much work done as we can,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And just, have that open communication. And, if you think it's too much, let's talk about it. I've also had other parents where they just want therapy every day.
Oh.
And I'm just like, no, no, that's not good either. No, 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 no,
Oh my.
no. Like, that's where you come in as the parent,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. So, well, it's like in sports, right? With my skating students, they can get a lesson every day, but unless they're practicing on their own, a lesson every day isn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
have to be able to implement what,
Mhm.
was
On
worked
your
on.
own.
Yes. So it's the same concept
Mhm.
in therapy.
Do you only work with medically complex kids?
A big part of my caseload is medically complex, just 'cause I think a lot of the EIs know that I work a lot with medically
Mhm.
complex, but I do have just some like kids who are delayed for no particular reason.
Yeah.
Although I will say it's been interesting over the last few years with the advances in genetics and genetic testing. I would say over the last 5 years or so, I've had kiddos who 5 years ago we wouldn't have known why they're delayed or why they're
Mhm.
a little bit low muscle tone. They just are. And all of a sudden, they have now discovered, a
There's a
genetic
reason.
deletion in
Yeah.
chromosome, like they don't even have names to
Yeah.
these things yet.
Yep.
So that's been kind of
Yep.
interesting too.
So when you see something like that, does
Yeah.
that kinda would that push you forward, push you harder to work with that child, or kinda say, give them a little bit more grace than you would a typically developing
Yeah.
child?
Well, it definitely gives them a little bit more grace,
Mhm.
right? Because now they have, a genetic condition, which is the cause of, X, Y, and
This
Z.
is what you started
Yes,
with,
yes,
like you said.
yes, yes. So where do we go from here?
Okay.
Right. A lot of times with the diagnosis, it, I don't think it changes a lot of what I do. It might change the approach a little bit,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, I want every one of my kiddos to be as independent as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just
Yep.
how we get to the independence that's different.
Has there ever been a case where you think, "Okay, this is too complex for me. I don't
Mm,
think I can help you"?
mm-mm,
No?
mm-mm, no,
You're
no,
determined.
yeah. But if I also know, my boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Like I had another little one. I don't have her anymore, but this a couple years ago, who had a trach, and the mom was like, "Oh, do you feel you can just suction her?" I was like, "No, ma'am, I
Mm-mm.
don't do that."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you want me to do it?" I was like, "Yes, please."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I wasn't sure which one of you." I was like, "Well," I said, "normally hospital-based PTs are more, but I
Mhm.
don't have enough."
And
So I know my
yeah,
boundaries.
to me, it's no big deal now, but
Yeah,
I feel like if I were you, I'd be like, "Nope,
yeah,
I stick
yeah,
to what I
yeah.
know, you stick to what you know, and we
Exactly,
will work together to get"
exactly.
everybody
Yeah,
needs to stay in their own
yeah.
lane,
Yeah, definitely.
you know?
Yes, yes. But yeah, like if I ever had an issue or, I had a diagnosis or I wasn't sure, I do the research, I
Mhm.
figure it out if I feel like it's out of my comfort zone. And I think more so when I was younger, first starting out as a therapist,
Yeah.
but now I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen a
it.
lot. So
And, I mean, do you like it? Do you like what you do?
yeah,
You have to,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, to do it
yeah.
this long and to be
Yes,
that good at it, it's
yes,
like,
yeah.
toot your own horn a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I do, especially, as I've gotten older, the older kids are harder.
Mhm.
It's hard to run after children. Once
Mhm.
I get them running, I'm like, okay, with the babies, I love getting them, early and just really seeing that progress. And, I think progress is a good thing to talk about too, because everyone has a different, I think, definition of progress. And especially with medically complex kiddos, you have to celebrate the small stuff because it's those small things that lead up to the big things. I feel like I'm good at explaining why some of the little things. I had a little one the other day who just, while Thomas is doing this now too, like just started to get the idea of pushing himself back up to sitting. I was like, this is amazing. It's amazing. The mom was like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, no, but let me tell you why.
Yeah. Yep.
And so when I went through she was like,
Yeah.
that is
It's
amazing.
almost like a light bulb,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
'cause we don't think about
Yeah,
it as
yeah,
parents. I don't, at
yeah,
least, but you
yeah.
kinda see the chain reaction to it
Yes,
all, you
yes.
know?
Yeah,
Like
it's like when we first started working on kneeling,
yeah.
right? And getting them up really high on those knees.
Mhm.
Tell you're probably like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I don't think he likes this.
Yeah.
Well, because we need the stronger hip extensors,
Mhm.
because we need that for walking and we
Mhm.
need that for upright posture.
And he doesn't like it, but we do it anyway.
Yes. He's getting better.
Uh,
Well, the thing is that he really likes to turn himself into sitting. But yeah, I think it's more so that he knows he can push himself into sitting. It's like his new trick.
yes.
So any
Up and down,
position,
up and down.
he's like, wait, let me do this.
Yep. Okay. Is there something you think you say to parents every day?
Yeah, couple things. So I think one thing is just to appreciate those little victories, right? So I'm constantly pointing out those little things that are so important that will help get us to the bigger things. But then also, like, having to kind of say, I feel like the goal is always walking, right? We all want our kids to walk on their own. So if we're not quite working on actually standing and walking yet, but something else, I have to like kind of paint them the bigger picture
Yes.
of, again, those
Mhm.
baby steps.
Mm.
And so I think, just really reminding them to really celebrate those little
Mhm.
wins
Mhm.
and then constantly reminding them of the progress, I think.
Yes.
Because I think too, and I know again, we've said this, is when you're with your baby every day, sometimes you can't tell if there's a change.
Yes.
Really can't tell. But when I'm coming in once a week or twice a week,
Mhm.
I mean, I can see the differences and
Mhm.
they're little, but I see them.
Yes.
And I think one thing,
I can
um,
attest to that because she does
yeah,
say that to me a lot.
yeah, 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 because it's hard when you see them every day,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
think you're seeing the same thing,
Yeah.
but it could be one little thing that's
Yeah.
different.
Or just
And
sitting up a little bit straighter,
yes.
holding your
Yeah.
head a little bit
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah. Totally. And it's hard when
Mhm.
you see it every day.
Yeah.
So,
It's easy to miss those little things. And you
exactly.
would think, as a mother, you're gonna notice every
Yeah.
little small
Yeah.
change, every little
Yeah.
thing, but you don't,
Yeah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
The days go by pretty
They
quick,
do.
so
Yeah.
most
Because
days.
there's so many
Yeah.
things,
Mhm.
right? You've got specialist appointments, you got therapy appointments,
Mhm.
you've got feedings, you've got meds,
Yep.
and then throw in playtime and nap time. And it's a lot. Yeah. You're not
Mental
going to catch
health time,
everything.
coffee time,
Yes.
podcasts.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I tell the moms a lot too.
Mhm.
Just it's okay to be overwhelmed. If you weren't, I'd be a little bit worried
Yeah.
because it's a lot. It's just a
Yeah.
lot.
So, if a mom wanted to exercise with her baby, what are some things she could do
Okay.
just around the house?
Okay. So I think holding your baby and doing some squats,
Mm.
right? You can hold them really close. You can use whatever strapping device if you want. If you don't feel comfortable, just like being able to hold and do
Yeah.
exercises, you can have your baby lying on the floor beside you. You can be on your side and you could be doing leg lifts,
Yes.
right? You can do like have your baby again on the floor and you can do like little push-ups, right?
Mhm.
So a little like close to your baby and away from your
Yes.
baby. You can
Yes.
do that. You can, hold your baby up, bring them down. There's
Mhm.
like lots of things you
Yep.
can incorporate and they
They're oh, they
love,
Yeah,
right?
and it's playtime for them,
Yes.
right? I'm sure
Yes.
they're
Yep.
working some kind of
Yep.
muscles, lifting
Yep.
their head and doing all
Yep.
kinds of things.
Yep.
That's amazing. What's one thing you wish every parent understood about child development?
Oh gosh, that it's a range.
Mhm.
It's a range of development.
Yeah.
It's not just a checklist. And I know it's so hard not to compare, but I think instead of comparing to other kids, compare your own child's progress, right? Think, well, wait a minute, what were they doing a month ago?
Yes.
Not as much as they are now. So I think as long as you're seeing progression, it's keeping your eye on that.
Yes.
Right? It's a journey and every child's journey is so unique. Even
Mhm.
like a child, two children with the same diagnoses, the same presentation, their journey's going to be a little bit different.
Mhm.
So, and that's okay for that to
Yeah.
be different,
Yeah. I agree.
right?
And let's wrap it up with a couple questions. What's one piece of advice you would give to every new parent,
Mm,
either as a PT or a
yes.
mom?
As a PT, don't be afraid of tummy time. Everyone goes, my baby hates it.
Mhm.
Well, of course they do. It's hard.
Yep.
Tummy time is really hard. You're using a lot of muscles, but use use different ways to do tummy time,
Mhm.
right? If you can do tummy time, you're going to strengthen all those back and neck muscles, their hips, their arms, do chest to chest. Do little like a little football carry where they're
Yeah.
on their belly on your arm. So
Yeah.
instead of carrying them upright, carry them this way. That's
Mhm.
still tummy time.
Mhm.
Of course, regular on the floor or have them, across your legs while you're sitting and you can
Mhm.
bounce them, right? So as a PT, don't be afraid of tummy time and stay away from containers. As a mom, I would just say enjoy as much as you can because it honest to God goes by so
Mhm.
fast, crazy fast.
And what is one thing you want another mom to hear today as a
Oh,
mom?
yeah, as a mom. Oh gosh, don't be so hard on yourself. I think we all do it. We all do it.
Big time.
Yeah. I've never met a mom who isn't hard on
Mm-mm.
herself. I'm not quite sure where that comes from,
Yeah,
but
me neither.
and we all think we can do it all. And
You
It's
can't.
no, and it's taken me a long time to figure that out myself, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
That's a hard one for most of us, I think, too,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Mhm.
But
Until God gives you a medically complex child and you're like,
yes.
"I need all the help I can get."
Yes, yes, yes.
And just a little Thomas tidbit, can you tell us about one of Thomas's wins that meant a lot to you?
Oh my god, there's so many. The first time he started rolling over on his own to get toys, that
Mhm.
was huge.
Yes.
But most recently, pushing himself up from the floor up into a sitting position all on his own. I mean,
He's so good.
it was amazing.
Mhm.
And he's so proud of himself when
He
he
is,
does
he's
it.
so pleased. He has the
Yes.
biggest smile on his face, like, "Did everybody see
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Why is nobody watching
Yeah.
me?"
Right. Right. That was the best one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to touch on today?
Let's talk about crawling.
Yeah.
So I get the question a lot that, I don't know if it's so much a question, a statement. My baby didn't crawl. They just went right to standing and walking
I hear
and they're
that a
fine.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay. Is what they think. So the CDC, in all of their grand knowledge, they removed crawling on hands and knees from developmental milestones. Yes. And so what they said instead was just any kind of mobility.
Hmm.
So in the therapy world, we all went,
Yeah.
so it's true that not every child does go through crawling on hands and knees, and they're fine. There's no problems. They move on and off they go, and they're wonderfully functioning adults, no problem. However, if you can go through that crawling on hands and knees phase, even if it's just for a tiny bit,
Mhm.
there are so many benefits. I mean, it's hand eye coordination,
Mhm.
right? As you're crawling forward, hand eye
Mhm.
coordination. It's that visual perceptual skills. It's getting weight through your hands and through your shoulders. So you're building those arches in your
Yeah.
hands, which are important later for holding a pencil, holding a
Mhm.
crayon, depth perception. There are so many
Yeah, that's
core
huge.
strength, right? Because you got to keep your belly off the floor while you're going,
Yes.
hands and knees, doing a reciprocal movement, right? Because walking's reciprocal. So
Mhm.
crawling, I do my best to try to get every one of my patients to go through at least a tiny, tiny, even if it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
briefest phase of crawling on hands and knees,
Yeah.
just so they get some benefit from that. So,
And even if they do start walking before they crawl, just
yeah,
because you're walking doesn't mean they can't
yeah,
crawl,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So even if
yeah,
your baby is
yeah,
walking,
yeah,
just get them to
yeah,
crawl a little bit,
yep, yep.
you
And that
know?
can be like playing games,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's walking like a bear.
Yeah.
That's, there's
Mhm.
lots of things you can
'Cause,
do.
I mean, in my head, I'm always like, "Well, it's not gonna hurt, only help. Let's do it."
Yep.
You
Yep,
know? Why
exactly.
not?
Yeah, yeah.
What, so I can boast that my kid didn't have to crawl before he
Yeah,
walked? Who
right? I know,
cares?
right?
Who
Because it's like, guess
cares?
what? That's not a great thing.
Yeah.
It's not great.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for spending your time with us today. Thank you, Miss Charlene, for coming and
Of
spending your time
course.
with me today.
That was fun.
We're recording here on a Friday, so your work week is over now. Yes,
Over,
good for you.
over, over.
All right, everybody. We will see you next week on Oh Baby. See ya. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to give a huge thank you to Charlene for sitting down with me and sharing her knowledge, her experience, and her heart. Today, we talked about so much more than milestone and exercises. We talked about how every child develops at their own pace, how progress can look completely different from one child to another, and how those little victories can sometimes mean the most. As a mom, one of the things I've leaned on through our own journey is that progress doesn't always happen in the big, obvious moments. Sometimes it's a tiny movement, a new skill, or simply trying something that was once difficult. All those moments deserve to be celebrated. If you're a parent wondering whether your child may benefit from physical therapy, don't be afraid to ask questions. Asking for support doesn't mean something is wrong with your child. It simply means you're giving them another person in their corner. And to all the therapists, teachers, doctors, nurses, and caregivers who celebrate the tiny victories alongside families, thank you. You become part of these children's stories in ways you may never realize. Charlene, thank you for being part of Thomas's journey and for sharing your perspective with all of us today. To the moms listening, I hope today's conversation reminded you of something important. Don't compare your child's chapter to someone else's. Celebrate where they are, celebrate how far they've come, and trust that every little step forward matters. Thank you for listening to Oh Baby, where every mother's story matters. Be sure to follow us and listen on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Follow along on social media. We'll see you next time.